correlation, one should gravitate their hedging strategy to use the greater correlation, even though it may appear to be a mismatch. But one thing that you said bothers me a little bit. You said that they were using hedging to protect capital investments. Is that correct? As opposed to an operating cost or an operating revenue?
Well, they had you go ahead. Okay. Well, they had a defined capital expenditure program, and basically, so it's called capital expenditure. It's just sort of like, if you're developing. Can we're allowed to say the actual industry?
We've requested energy experts. So.
Yep. Yeah. So look, it's oil exploration, right? So they're actual fact doing oil and gas, and they're actual fact have a series of rigs, etc., drilling, and exploration types expenditure programs they were going to do for the year, etc. And hence they have a defined sort of budget and the cost involved in that and that sort of stuff. So they were looking at that as well. So they already knew pretty much already at the beginning of the financial year how much expenditure they were going to be required on this particular program. Right, and then they were going to try and the part of the argument was that a large amount of that expenditure would have been in AUD. Their actual fact functional currency in Canada is Canadian dollar, right? And hence they're entering into hedges, FX hedges. To sort of hedge the anticipated expenditure and the expenditure in AUD, etc., with a USD pair, with a Canadian USD hedge, right? As you said before, the argument being that the Canadian dollar was roughly was in correlation with the AUD. Now, first question. With your experience, and particularly because you've actually had experience here with the privatisation of energy and gas down here in Victoria, I assume you're talking about. I'm quite familiar with that myself as well. I had a little involved with that myself, actually. But so in your view, is that a fair thing to say that Canadian dollar and AUD are correlated? I'll just ask that question.
Well, it's a fair thing to say, but that said, it's a fair argument to make, but the devil's in the study, right? So I've never done a correlation study of the two currencies, but so I can't tell you whether it is a reasonable conclusion or not, but we both know what needs to be done, a correlation studies, correct?
Yeah, they actually did something which I found interesting. They actually did a very short review period. I think. Yep.
Before you go into what they did, maybe, David, if you could tell us what you would expect to see in the correlation study.
Well, I would look at the risk that's being hedged. Like let's say it's I'm still bothered by the fact that it's a capital investment, to be honest with you. So that let's park that issue for a minute. Yeah, let's come back to that. If you're hedging, let's say, 1, 2, 3 year risks that are budgeted risks over the next 2 or 3 years, and you're hedging it Canadian dollars versus Australian, I would want to see I'd want to see how both of the realized physical settlement prices are correlated on a monthly basis, going back for quite a number of years, see how that's changed. I would also want to see how the forward 1 year, 2 year, 3 year traded prices are correlated, going back several years. So I'd want to study that a couple of different ways. One on settlement and another on how the forwards are trading, how they had been trading. It's the sort of stuff that would keep me awake at night when you're taking on the correlation risk. Correlations can be volatile as well, right? And perhaps that's one of